I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Where Black Catholics have been and where they're headed in the Brooklyn Diocese.
There's something about the Roman Catholic experience that appeals to African American, Caribbean, Haitian people.
A Queen's school gets its wish.
That it's important to give back. You know, sometimes we all about what we're getting and everything else, and sometimes we have to give.
And it's not Christmas, it's Candlemas. We'll take you to a special celebration.
It's a great way to sort of feel that you're connected with other people in the world.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. As we celebrate Black History Month, we wanted to get a full picture of where Black Catholics have been and also where they're going.
So we recently sat down with some leaders in the Black Catholic community right here in Brooklyn.
The church is, prior to 1920, did not really have much experience with Black Catholics. And they weren't really sure exactly how to accommodate them, because their churches were predominantly white and blacks were a second class.
We were Black and Catholic well before these churches began to sprout up at St. Benedict the Moor in Harlem and in St. Peter Claver, and with the Federated Colored Catholics. Now, we never hear a lot about it, but in addition to Rome and Greece and Turkey and Asia Minor, Africa and Ethiopia, North Africa, were key center stones and bastions of Catholicism. We have been Black and Catholic from the very beginning of the history of the church. There were Black Catholics who came here as Catholic. Some of the slaves were Catholic.
In 1915 and 1916, Black Catholics actually took leadership in trying to get a church started before Father Quinn, because they felt that in the Catholic churches, they weren't able to be involved socially with the people.
The predominant experience was an experience of exclusion, of not being embraced. But there are exceptional moments that keep the Black Catholic movement moving forward. An example is Pierre Toussaint in the Archdiocese of New York. Here is a man from Haiti, a Black man in the Catholic Church, who becomes embraced by the Italian-American Catholic experience in the Archdiocese of New York and the Irish-American Catholic experience. And even to this very day, Cardinal O'Connor had his remains transferred over to St. Patrick's Cathedral, the new St. Patrick's Cathedral, out of respect for his outstanding legacy in the church here locally. But you also hear painful stories where people are not accepted. They're told to go to another church. They're told that Black Catholics are not welcome, colored Catholics are not welcome.
Monsignor Quinn felt that was his vocation, to do what no other priests were doing in reaching out to the African American people.
As far as this diocese is concerned, the numbers have exploded. 67 churches that were once predominantly non-Black Catholic churches are now predominantly Black and Catholic. That's a third of this diocese. That's the largest Black Catholic diaspora of any diocese in this country. That tells you that there's something about the Roman Catholic experience that appeals to African American, Caribbean, Haitian people, and holding on to it in New York City, in the capital of consumerism and capitalism and secularism. We've still been able to hold on to it and move it forward.
It's a different world that we're living in, thanks to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And today we know that Black Catholics would be welcome in Catholic churches.
And of course, we'll have much more on Black History Month in the days and weeks ahead.
But stay tuned, there's much more of today's current straight ahead. Well, wish and you shall receive. That is what one Queen's school recently found out. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines when we return.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up just a little bit later, what in the world is Candlemas? We'll tell you.
But first, let's check out the day's headlines. Well, Catholic Relief Services has provided help to hundreds of thousands of Haitians since last month's massive earthquake there. The agency reports today that it's raised over $38 million for its relief efforts. CRS is working with Caritas International to provide food and shelter for the hungry and homeless in Haiti. Well, nearly 400,000 children in Haiti were orphans before the quake hit, but there's no telling how many more orphans there are now. And some fall into the same fuzzy category where they have parents who, for a variety of reasons, are willing to give them up, sometimes to total strangers. It's a situation that is both chaotic and heartbreaking. Fortunately, as Joe Johns discovered, there are also people working to clear things up and help.
One little boy we talked to said he lost his dad, but his mom's still alive. Another lost a cousin. Figuring out what happened in these kids' lives can be tricky. A flatbed truck cruising back streets in tent cities carrying dozens of kids back from a day on the soccer field. Most people here don't know this is organized by one of the many groups here on a difficult mission to identify and help children orphaned by the quake.
The day camp is more than just playtime. It is a safe place for the children outside of what is a really harsh environment right now. But it also gives the group a chance to try to figure out which of these kids are the so-called new orphans, the ones that don't have any parents, don't have any family as a result of the quake. But it's really tough trying to figure that out. There's something like 85 kids here right now, almost a toss-up as to who's who.
Father Rick Frechette is a priest from Connecticut who spent 22 years here rescuing Haiti's children. He says the critical thing is separating the longtime street orphans who've already figured out how to survive in Port-au-Prince from the kids who have just lost their parents in the earthquake.
The kids that are used to the street, you know, they have scars, the way they stand, the way that you know them immediately. And the kids that are trembling and scared to death and can hardly speak, you know that they're new to the street.
Second problem is not all of the orphans are orphans. Parents abandon them sometimes, hoping they'll have a better life. Alfonso Leon was once an orphan himself. Now he also goes out searching for kids left without family by the quake. But they don't take all the kids offered to them.
Like, they would hope that I would take the children, and actually they do that almost any time. But we don't work that way. Like, you know, even the mother with a child would beg us to take the children, but we can't do that because we don't operate that way. We help them, and in that case, I would help the mother and the kids to have a meal and to do something. You know, if we could help in the community, maybe we would do that, but I wouldn't take the children from her.
There's another challenge, too. Some here simply distrust anyone who says they're looking to help orphans. They're wary of motives, so the groups have to work to gain trust, which is not always easy. Just last week, Alfonso and his team brought in these two little brothers who left their house before the quake and now can't find their mother. The goal is to try to determine if the boys have any other family they can stay with. It's a huge challenge and a slow process. The orphanage connected to Father Frechette and Alfonso Leone is expected to expand, but Haiti will almost certainly not be able to handle the numbers of orphans likely to come into the system.
Well, that is CNN's Joe Johns. Well, one day before he attends the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, it looks like President Obama's desire for Don't Ask, Don't Tell to be repealed is closer to reality. At a Senate committee hearing yesterday, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen, and Defense Secretary Robert Gates both said they support repealing the ban on gays in the military. President Obama expressed his desire for gays and lesbians to be allowed to serve openly in the military during his recent State of the Union address.
Bad news for students at the oldest Catholic school in New York City. The Archdiocese of New York says that it will close St. Patrick's Old Cathedral School in Little Italy at the end of this academic year. The Archdiocese school superintendent says it's a difficult decision, but low enrollment in recent years contributed to the outcome. Children enrolled at Old St. Patrick's will be welcomed into nearby Catholic schools. Well, students at another Catholic school, this one in Queens, got some good news yesterday. It was out with the old and in with the new, as Natalia Ortiz reports.
I bet you thought gift-giving season was over. Well, St. Adalbert's School here in Elmhurst just got their Christmas present, and no matter how belated, this good book is bringing children plenty of reason to celebrate. The Bible was the reason for this song and this Mass. during which 50 Bibles were blessed by Father Paul Mishkevich. The brand new books were given to the school with the help of the nonprofit organization called Alive in Hope and Jerry Fleming, who donated some of the $1,500.
I understand that it's important to give back. You know, sometimes we all about what we're getting and everything else, and sometimes we have to give. And you know, it's easy. You know, when my son went through here, he certainly learned his ABCs and his 1, 2, 3s, but it was important to learn about God too.
And these students seem to agree.
Oh, I think it's great because we could use it like every day during class when we need some help, like during religion class especially, because it helps us really understand the full meaning of the Word of God.
They're also relieved they don't have to share their old tattered Bibles anymore.
Well, sometimes people don't read as fast as you do, or like they'd flip the page when you're not done.
They're really nice because they're hardcover, and the ones you normally have are soft cover, and they're kind of old. Like some of them have tape on them.
But of all the high-tech gadgets around, why would a school ask for something as basic as a Bible?
I try to keep the tuition as affordable as possible. So while we may not be in dire need of major repairs or things, it's the little things that sometimes we forget.
But Sister says the larger point is what moves people to donate the gifts.
Finances are hard for everybody, and for people to dig into their pockets and to donate money to a school, it has to be because they believe in what's happening.
And finally, the Indianapolis Colts and the New Orleans Saints will be facing off in Super Bowl 44 this Sunday in Miami. Two people who will be watching the outcome of the game very closely are the archbishops of those two cities. Indianapolis Archbishop Daniel B. Klein and New Orleans Archbishop Gregory Amond have made a little friendly bet on the game. If the Saints win, Archbishop Amond will receive Southern Indiana pork chops, and if the Colts win, Archbishop B. Klein will get to chow down on some New Orleans gumbo. Yum-ola.
It sounds really good right now.
I know, I'm hungry. I haven't had lunch yet.
Me either. Stay tuned, there's much more Currents coming up straight ahead. Just ahead, investing in the future. Not on Wall Street, it's all about schools.
It's quite visible what Catholic education has done for us personally and for many other people.
Welcome back. Well, long before there was a United States of America, there were Catholic schools in America. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
They've been a part of the fabric of this country since 1606, when Franciscans opened a school in what is now known as St. Augustine, Florida. And from that one school, there are now some 8,000 throughout the country.
Wow, and right here in Brooklyn, we have 116 Catholic elementary schools serving over 37,000 students. Amazing. As schools have spread, so has their influence. And during this Catholic Schools Week, we're looking at different aspects of that influence. I spoke recently with the Superintendent of Schools for Brooklyn, Thomas Chadzutko, and the Secretary of Catholic Education and Formation, Sister Angela Gannon. And tonight, they discuss just what it is that makes Catholic education so unique and so uniquely valuable. We're joined once again by Tom Chadzutko, the Superintendent of Schools for the Brooklyn Diocese, and also Sister Angela Gannon, who is the Secretary for Education and Formation for the Diocese. Thank you so much for joining us both today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're talking this week, and I guess, I don't know, maybe to some people this might sound a little redundant, because this is what we've been talking about all week so far, and we'll continue through Friday to talk about the importance of Catholic education. But we're going to focus on that specifically today and talk about kind of why is a specifically Catholic education so important?
This year, the theme for Catholic Schools Week, which is the week we're celebrating now throughout the week, the theme is Catholic Schools Dividends for Life. And at first you look at it and you say, well, given the economy, we're talking about dividends. But the very word dividends implicates the fact that there is an investment.
Right.
And that there has been a profit. And you look at people who have gone through Catholic education, whether they started in elementary school, high school, or graduate school, college, wherever, you can see the fruit of Catholic education in what they do. Right. Most of us have gone through, I went through St. Francis Xavier Elementary School, Bishop McDonald High School. My congregation provided graduate education at Catholic colleges for me. So we see the fruits of, we see the dividends of Catholic education in the lives of all the Catholic leaders in our church, in our country, in every area of life.
Yeah.
It's quite visible what Catholic education has done for us personally and for many other people.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've heard since I've been here, and I just moved to New York not long before we started to do Currents back in June of last year. I moved here in May, and I can't tell you how many times since I've been here in New York, because I come from Georgia. There aren't a lot of Catholic schools in Georgia, but here in New York, of course, there are a lot. And since I've been here, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, I'm a product of Catholic education, and I couldn't be more proud to say that. So, I mean, it's something that people really, really kind of, take seriously in their daily lives. Now,
I hear the same thing as I travel around.
Yeah.
Because they'll say, I went to such and such a school.
Right.
Do you know Sister So-and-so?
And you're probably like, yes, I do, actually.
Sometimes I do.
Now, with the economy, which you talked about, and the theme of the week kind of alludes to, how do you convince people? Because, I mean, you could put your kids on a bus or something and just send them off to the public school and not have to pay tuition for them to go. How do you kind of promote Catholic education over public education when it comes to cost?
Well, I think that's a decision that parents make and make a priority, make many sacrifices in order to send their children to a Catholic school, as do the teachers, make a sacrifice by being part of our mission of Catholic education. But they see a value in what they do. They can anticipate the dividend that will come from it. And when we talk about the dividends, we're talking about formation in the faith.
Right.
It's unique to a Catholic school.
Sure.
We talk about knowledge. Tom alluded to the great success that we have academically in our schools. We look at the moral training and response to situations as we experienced in the last 2 weeks in Haiti.
Right.
And there's just an outpouring of generosity. There's the discipline. And usually what I hear, the parents send the children first with discipline. Faith formation may come later. But hopefully they see the value of all four as contributing to the total education of the child.
So it's more than just reading, writing, and arithmetic.
It's all of it. Yeah.
It's almost taking care of the whole person. You hear that a lot, I guess, with. Of course, there's been a lot of talk about healthcare in the news and things like that lately. But we're taking care of a person's just one aspect of a person's life, or taking care of the whole person. That's really kind of what we're talking about here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, as far as, let's say, kids. Of course, kids always generally want to be involved in some sort of extracurricular activity. I know when I was in high school, I was in band, I was in the chorus, I was in the student council, I did all these things. Do Catholic schools offer the same sort of experience as far as the extracurricular activities go?
Right now, many of our schools are working toward that. Most of our schools do have after-school program to provide, the needed necessities of assisting with homework. But there are schools that have begun to add programs, chess programs. There are some schools that also have special subjects, cooking, some of the basic things just to engage. We do have throughout this diocese active sports programs, and I think one of the goals of preserving the vision is how do we find those resources? What grants are available for our schools that they can continue to expand those after-school programs?
Sure.
That's an area of parental involvement also, where some of the parents come in and contribute their expertise to a particular extracurricular activity.
Well, very good.
And so that involves a wider circle of people in the life of the school.
Yeah. Well, very good. Thank you so much for joining me once again here today on Currents. We appreciate your time. Of course, we'll talk to you once again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we'll be continuing our conversation on Catholic schools coming up tomorrow.
Well, stay with us. There's much more Currents straight ahead.
When we return, lights, projections, and prayer. It's Candlemas. We'll tell you what it's about.
Earlier tonight, we told you about the closing of the school at Old St. Patrick's in Manhattan. Well, our cameras were there just last night at that church for an event that turned the spotlight on people who are far from New York.
It was part art exhibit, part prayer service, but all designed to raise funds for school children in Guatemala.
The Lord will come with mighty power and give light to the eyes of all who serve him.
A celebration of light and spirituality for a good cause took place last night at the second annual illumination of Old St. Patrick's Cathedral in Little Italy. The event was organized around Candlemas, the traditional blessing of beeswax candles.
Tonight we're here for Candlemas, which is the 40 days after Christmas, a celebration of the blessing of the candles, of the presentation of the Lord in the temple. And this is the day also which we're going to be raising funds for our uniforms.
The uniforms are made by Goods of Conscience, a not-for-profit organization started by Father Andrew to benefit Guatemalan indigenous people. The uniforms will go to needy school children there.
As you know, in Latin America and other parts of the world, to have the uniform means you go to school.
The night started with the blessing of the candles and a dance outside the church. As people marched into the church, their image was captured and projected onto the church's facade.
So what we did outside was to show them like a type of Milky Way, a little procession of the saints. And we had a dance ceremony which signified this holy fabric of the incarnation. So even though it's a hand-woven fabric, which is very human, it has this light that reflects. So we enacted that with a whole group of people. And then we processed into the church and we had Vespers.
The night ended with a reception where Goods of Conscience pieces were exhibited and Guatemalan hot chocolate was offered.
I think this event is a great initiative from Father Andrew. And I think tonight it unified a lot of people from different nations into one very good purpose.
As a young person today, growing up in the U.S., I think it's important to have models of social awareness that can be transplanted into many different things.
This is an idea that really works, because for them it's trade, not aid. We thought this is an appropriate date to underline the hope of these children down in Guatemala. It's a great way to sort of feel that you're connected with other people in the world.
And you can find out more about Goods of Conscience by heading on over to our blog, Riding the Wave. Just click on that at currentsny.net. And Goods of Conscience, you know something about. You've done a story on them before.
I went to their fashion show, and it was really great. And the thing that is terrific about what they do is that it really benefits both communities. You have the Guatemalan community that's making the textiles and the fabrics and using their millennia-old way of weaving to create these amazing clothes that, again, are now celebrated in Vogue and Cameron Diaz and all of that. And then you also have the community in the Bronx that's assembling them and putting them together. And so they're able to do stuff. And all of those proceeds, not all, obviously you're paying for wages, you know, are going to helping, in this case, school children, or to build churches back in, you know, Guatemala. So it's really a great symbiotic kind of thing that Father Andrew's put together.
Yeah, it helps out a lot of people, and as I remember, the clothing is just wonderfully structured and put together, and of course, you know, I mean, it's all handmade, and it's very much, there's a lot of care that goes into it, and there's some very fashionable pieces.
There are. As a matter of fact, one of them, if I recall correctly, the safari dress will be featured in Harper's Bazaar, I believe, in next month's issue, in March's issue. And what makes the clothing unique, and that you know that it's not just some other kind of indigenous textile that's being sold, is that they have this sort of silvery thread through the middle of it that makes it look very unique and interesting, but it also sort of serves as a hallmark and a trademark that it is a Goods of Conscience produced piece of clothing. So look out for that if you ever see it. And again, we've posted some more information about it on our website, so you can check it out when you want.
Good, almost like a little watermark in there or something.
It's true. That's kind of what...
Hold up a dollar bill and you've got the president's face. You hold up the Goods of Conscience, you got the silver thread.
There you go. That's just about what it is. All right, well, that is it for this edition of Currents. And remember, you don't even need a TV to watch us. You can always catch us online at currentsny.net.
Well, coming up tomorrow, just in time for Valentine's Day, we have World Marriage Day. We'll find out more about that coming up tomorrow. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Have a great night.